All right, folks, time for the podcast bonus segment here on DM Radio, talking all about ETL, data movement. And one of the most important things you could do is make sure it is correct. So called testing. It's a big part in the application world. A lot of times in the data world, folks don't pay as much attention to testing and making sure that what they wanted from source went to target exactly. And Sandesh Gawande of iceDQ knows a lot about that. So, real quick, Sandesh, tell me, you knew a long time ago that companies had to focus on data quality, making sure that what they wanted from this system wound up in that system. So you built this technology. Tell us a bit how you do it and how you do it efficiently, because people want it done. They want it done quickly. They don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it. So
Yeah.
what's your trick for being able to know very quickly that what came from this system went into that system correctly?
Okay, so let's divide into two parts. One part is how we do it, and then the second part how we do it nicely or high with high
Nice.
performance and scale.
That's good.
Okay, the first part is the testing is even quality as a matter of fact is what is expected versus what is actual, right? So when you are testing a data pipeline, you cannot really test the pipeline directly. You need to look what the result it produced and compare with the result what you were expecting.
Hmm.
So there are fundamentally two methods. One method is called validation, where regardless of what the ETL process did, you go and check in the target system, like say email cannot be null or something like that, right? So you can make those kind of rules, simple rules. Those are called validation testing rules. The second part is, but you cannot define all the rules, because if I gave you 100 emails, then the target should have 100 emails. So the expected result is actually dependent on the source side.
Hmm.
So for that, what we do, our product can connect to the left side. It could be a file, database, anything, or you go to the right and go to the right side, not or, and go to the right side and say, okay, I got 100 customers in the source. Let me go and check how many customers I got on the target side, right? So, okay, 100 customers, everything looks good. But it is possible now that one customer is repeated 100 times and the count will match,
Right.
right? So
Right.
go to the second level. We go customer A, B, C, X. Oh, where did we get X from? So we can find out the extra one or the one that is missing. Then the third level is, okay, let's say ABC customer match. That doesn't mean their email, their zip code, their CT, everything is matching, right? So for that, what we do, the third level is we go to the attribute level and we actually compare each attribute, the email of these Sandesh on this side and Sandesh on that side, the zip code of Eric on the source side, the zip code on Eric on the right side. So these are the three levels of three methods to do testing. Then there is a fourth one, because sometimes there is transformation rules, right? So let's say on the left side you have transaction data, but you are on the right hand side you are summarizing it by month, right? So you have to do aggregates and then compare. You can't just compare directly, right?
Hmm.
Then the fourth level is you have source data coming in. You have individual customers and corporate customers, but you told in the ETL process just filter out the let's say individuals and only load the corporate customers. So these are the five levels of logical methods to do ETL testing. So a quick summary. Number one, there is a validation rule where you just look at the target and the rule is in your head and you compose it there. The second thing is based on the source and target, right? Because the what is expected is dependent dynamically and what was given in the source. So in that case, you need to apply reconciliation rules, and there are many more things in here. So
Hmm.
that is the logical explanation of how we do data testing.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And then we got a few minutes left here. You also observe once it's in production, right? So I've watched. We went from the world of ETL, lots of batch jobs, to now there's a real focus on data pipelines, which are active pipelines running all the time. So there's
Yeah.
something catching data, moving it through, transforming it, loading, catching, moving through, loading all the time.
Yeah.
How do you test in that environment? What are you actually pulling? What do you look for?
Okay. So the other scenario is once the system goes live, the pipelines are running in production, right? Now the issue is just because you tested and amazing testing, hopefully you tested and you put in production, doesn't mean that the process will run accurately. There are few things that can happen. One, what the output quality is dependent on three things. Did you deploy the code correctly? Number one. Number two, at the time of running, what data you got in the source system. Suppose you are looking for only individual and corporate customers, and suddenly you got Now defense customer, right? Your system will not know how to process it. So so that kind of testing is required. The third is the orchestration might itself go wrong because let's say before loading customers, you loaded let's say before customers you loaded the transaction. Now the whole thing will be messed up, right?
Hmm.
So these kind of testing, you take some of these rules that you develop in testing and deploy them as part of your deployment in production. Now you can monitor your data pipeline,
Hmm.
right? And I'll give two very good examples. Let's say I'm receiving, let's say I'm in a bank and I'm receiving end of day stock prices. So I'm receiving it from two systems. So just because you receive the prices from two systems doesn't mean they are accurate, because many times they relocate the fields or they forget to multiply by a zero. So
Right.
there is a decimal difference of 0.001 or something, right? So what we do is in the ETL test monitoring step in production, we can compare the two prices, let's say Bloomberg and Reuters, and say, oh, there's a difference in price, and raise alert. Another example, to close this conversation, is let's say you have orders and shipment. Can you have shipment without orders? Let's say your ETL process did amazing job and loaded the orders and processes. But if you do a test, say show me all the shipments for which orders don't exist, you
Hmm.
can find out something went wrong. And that something can be a ETL process, a scheduling problem, or it could be just like the source system didn't provide the data. So there are business rules and audit tools, and there is a longer discussion. But basically, what we are saying is test and then monitor and observe.
Yep, yep, yep. Trust and verify, right? Trust, but test, verify, keep it on going. Well,
Yeah.
folks, look this gentleman up online, Sandesh Gawande of iceDQ. Thanks so much for your time today. And folks, if you want to be on our show, send me an email, info@dmradio.biz. We'll talk to you next time. You've been listening to DM Radio.